A 13-year-old Primrose Hill Primary pupil is in police custody for allegedly shooting the school principal in Ekurhuleni yesterday. It's alleged that the incident happened after the boy was instructed by the principal to take out his books and study. The pupil was reportedly sitting in the foyer along with others. The principal is currently receiving medical treatment in hospital. The Gauteng Education Department says it will provide psychosocial support for the pupils who witnessed the shooting.
Our district and the school, they have been interacting with the family and also making sure that they know what is happening at the hospital. What we'll be doing is just to provide employee wellness, the colleagues that are in the school, and also the psycho support to the learners that might have witnessed this incident and those that are affected by it. First thing on Monday, our team will be in the school just to make sure that we manage the process.
The department spokesperson, Steve Mabona, also adds that parents need to help their children with conflict management.
If we own firearms, we should be having firearm if it's licensed, because we understand that this firearm belongs to a parent. So we need to be wary of exposing, firearms like that, and also instill discipline in our children. Our children need to know when they go to school, what is it that they're going to do there. You can't, even if you have an issue with an educator or a principal or anyone in the school, you can't resort to harming anyone or even think about harming anyone.
Let's now speak to the Deputy Chairperson at the Foundation for Education and Social Justice Africa, Hendrick Makaneta, about safety and security in schools and how these issues can be dealt with. Hendrick, good morning. Thank you so much for making time for us. Tell us about your thoughts when you first heard of the story.
Well, to be quite honest, we were really shocked and devastated. When the news reached us yesterday, we began to wonder, where is this country heading to? We should know at this point that it is not the first time that we witness incidents of crime within the schooling communities. But I think that this one, it's even worse. The fact that a 13-year-old boy is involved, that should be a cause for great concern.
Yeah.
And I think that,
no, you can go ahead, Hendrick.
And I think that the department is correct to say that discipline starts at home. If parents cannot instill discipline at home, it will be difficult for teachers at school level, to win this battle of, discipline amongst learners if the same is not enforced at home.
Yeah. So investigations are still underway, we understand, and as you heard there from the Department of Education, according to the police, that the firearm actually belongs to the parent. The question then is, for me, is that did he come with the firearm to the school in the morning, so the firearm was somewhere in his bag and carried it along with him in the school? Is this the first time that he's doing something like this? How has this been allowed to happen in the school? What is it about the nature of the society in Primrose?
Well, to be quite honest with you, the hands of teachers are often tied when it comes to, searching learners. For example, teachers do not have that power, to search the learners in terms of the law. Police, of course, where there is a reasonable suspicion, police have got that power to even get into a school without a search warrant and conduct, search operations. So at this point, it is unclear whether the gun was there all along or whether it was a daily occurrence, or whether it was something that happened only yesterday. I'm talking about bringing the gun to school. But of course, as you have correctly indicated, the investigations may be able to reveal these deep issues as and when we proceed. Yeah. But the reality is that we've got a very good constitution. We've got the Bill of Rights, Chapter 2, which really protects the rights of all, including learners, the right to learn. But teachers are really disempowered when it comes to some of these aspects. You know, a learner can just get into a school with a knife, and, you know, a teacher is not allowed to touch or search the learner. That is, not allowed in terms of the law. Yeah.
Do you think that that should be a policy that needs to be revisited? Because last year, the MEC for Education in Gauteng, Ekurhuleni, launched the Adopt a Cop program, and they've also, they expanded the Adopt a Cop program, and they also spoke about search and seizure operations at identified high-risk schools. But this would, of course, be the police that will be doing the search and seizure. Do you think that because of the high levels of criminality and violence that is now playing out in schools, that perhaps maybe the school teachers must be allowed to search the bags of children, or should we just get more security?
Well, I think, Alvin, the reality is that any law or policies that are developed, be it at school level or elsewhere, parents have to get a buy-in. You know that if a bill goes to Parliament, communities have to be involved. So if the majority of people want teachers to be given the power to search the learners, I think that, that process can be initiated either through legislation where amendments can be made, to the South African Schools Act or any other relevant act that has to do with education. No one stops, the SGB from canvassing such matters. But as it stands, as I've said, teachers don't really have a lot of power to deal with some of these aspects. The only thing that they can do is to observe the duty of care. Of course, teachers do have a right, in terms of Section 36 of the Constitution, the limitation of rights is there. If a learner disrupts or puts the lives of other learners in danger, teachers do have that power to take the learner out of the classroom. And of course, even if a learner has got a dangerous weapon, that poses a risk, to learners and teachers. Yeah. Again, teachers have a right to take such a learner out of the school premises.
Yeah, and Hendrick, then there's the broader question around discipline in schools, to be specific. Yesterday when the story broke, just listening to a lot of parents responding to this, and they were blaming it on the decision that was taken back in 1997 to outlaw corporal punishment. Do you think that reinstituting corporal punishment will actually become a form of making sure that the school become much safer?
To be quite honest with you, that is also a debatable matter which parents should actively engage in. What I can say is that when corporal punishment was abolished back in the 90s, there was a view that if you beat the learner, that is violence, and that if you are violent towards a learner in terms of this corporal punishment, it means will produce a violent society. Yeah. Learners will in turn become violent.
But the society is already violent. The society is already violent, and the violence is not stopping.
Exactly. That is what I wanted to say, that it appears that today's learners are actually more violent than, the learners that we had during the apartheid era when corporal punishment was still in place. So it appears that it has not worked. The fact that we were trying to uproot, violent behavior amongst learners by abolishing corporal punishment, it appears that it has not worked. And the other thing is that government did not put anything in place, to replace corporal punishment. Schools are really struggling with discipline. It's not an easy thing. If you go into any school and things such as detention, for example, again, they don't really work. Because if you place a learner on detention at school level, it means you are actually placing a teacher as well on detention, because the teacher has to be present when learners are on detention in terms of enforcing the duty of care.
Yeah. Hendrick, thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it. And of course, the A Council for Educators said in their report the most complaints that they are receiving is complaints against teachers when it comes to corporal punishment. But what do you make of it? Since 1997, corporal punishment has been outlawed in this country, and it has been said, as Hendrick has indicated there, that it leads to violence. But what do we make about the current situation that we're facing in the country, and also the societies that these children come from? Thank you so much for your time. That is Hendrick.